So the process for judicial impeachment is actually quite simple. In the House of Representatives, articles for impeachment of a federal judge can be introduced by any member. How empowering is that? Let me repeat. Articles of impeachment against a federal judge can be introduced in the House by any member. That means the member that represents you should be hearing from you in about 5 minutes, telling them that you demand articles of impeachment against Judge Deborah Boardman. After articles of impeachment have been introduced in the House, those articles are sent to the Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee is tasked with investigating the claims, holding hearings, and then they vote on the articles of impeachment within the committee. If the majority of that committee votes in favor of those articles of impeachment, it advances to the House for a full vote. In the House of Representatives, a vote on impeachment articles for a federal judge requires only a simple majority. A simple majority. Remember, Republicans have a majority in the House right now, so this should be not only possible, it should be without question. After a simple majority vote in the House of Representatives, these articles of impeachment are sent over to the U.S. Senate. The U.S. Senate then must decide whether to convict or acquit the federal judge on these charges. The Senate, of course, requires a 2/3 majority vote to convict a federal judge, and I know that would be a challenge given the fact that even Republican senators are a bunch of horrible squishes. But here's the thing. When we get these, whether it's representatives in the House or senators in the Senate, on record, on the issues that matter, on the issues that we care about, on issues that actually allow their voters to see who they are and what they stand for, then it allows us, if they vote incorrectly, to vote them out in the next election cycle. It's when they're vague and they refuse to go on record and we can't really, nail them down on where they stand on the issues that it's hard to run the campaigns against them that actually make a difference to voters. But when they are forced on record, then we can do that. So the current members of the House Judiciary Committee, by the way, there's 25 Republican members and there are 19 Democrat members. And again, any member of the U.S. Congress can introduce articles of impeachment in the House of Representatives, but the 25 Republican members include, the chair of the House Judiciary Committee is Jim Jordan, Darrell Issa is on that committee, Andy Biggs is on that committee, Tom McClintock is on that committee, Thomas Massey's on that committee, Chip Roy's on that committee, a lot. Laurel Lee is on that committee, Wesley Hunt is on that committee. We have Republicans here. Brandon Gill is on that committee. We have a lot of good Republicans on that committee who know how to do the right thing and are there in Congress to pursue justice. And I understand that the ranking Democrat member of the Judiciary Committee, it's Jamie Raskin. He's not exactly there to pursue justice. We have Jerry Nadler on the Democrat side. We have Eric Swalwell. We have Ted Lieu and Pramila Jayapal. And we have not really the great ones. We have Jasmine Crockett from the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee. Still, if Shri Thanadar can bring articles of impeachment against President Trump, remember that guy? That real weirdo that brought the impeachment articles against President Trump, and even Democrats were like, dude, come on. Republicans unequivocally can and should bring articles of impeachment against these leftist activist judges. Here's how I view it. Journey back, 10 years ago. There was a moment when you and I recognized that the prosecutors, the district attorneys around the country that weren't prosecuting crimes, we were like, what's wrong with these people? These are prosecutors. Prosecutors are supposed to be hard against crime. How come all of a sudden these are real softies? And then there was a moment that we realized that this was by design, that George Soros, through his Progressive Prosecutor Project, had deliberately spent money, huge amounts of money on these local DA races, because in local DA races, typically the person who spends the most money is the winner. He had thrown a huge amount of money, way more than the capacity of these candidates to independently fundraise just from, their district. And he had bought these district attorney positions. And he installed, as a result, these quite literally communist prosecutors like Chesa Boudin up in San Francisco. Remember him? He was eventually recalled because his parents were literally members of the Weather Underground. Terrorists. And we realized that these prosecutors, this wasn't an accident, they weren't incompetent, they weren't stupid, that this was a plot against law and justice in our country. That's where we are today with these judges. It has been jarring for us to realize that these nationwide injunctions, that these random federal judges who we've never heard their names of before, never heard of them before, that these random people are acting as the resistance to President Trump. And we're like, what are you doing? Like, how do you have the audacity to do this? Like, haven't you read what your role is and what authority you have? They're not stupid. They're not doing this by accident. It's not one judge going rogue. It is a deliberate plot to first seat these federal judges in positions where they actually can be the resistance, and then to have them act as judicial activists, just like Deborah Boardman. It's not an accident that she looked at Nicholas Roski, who brought a gun and a knife and tried to assassinate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh after he ruled to overturn Roe v. Wade, that he was ideologically motivated to murder a Supreme Court justice because he didn't like the man's politics. And now he identifies as transgender, and the judge says she hopes that his family accepts him as their transgender daughter, and she's not going to send him to prison that long because she's worried about him, because he's not allowed as a man to go in a woman's prison. That's not a coincidence. That's not an accident. It's by design. And we can either sit here and we can rage about it, and it's certainly righteous indignation that fuels our rage. When we see injustice, we know it, we recognize it, or we can do something about it. We have the power in the U.S. Congress, at least for now. We have the capacity to bring articles of impeachment against these judges. We have grounds for impeachment. Biased rulings is grounds for impeachment. Favoritism is grounds for impeachment. This is provable by Justice Deborah Boardman's words. So get your phone out, open up your laptop, pull up the website of your member of Congress, click on their email address, start typing them an email, demand that your member of Congress bring articles of impeachment against Judge Deborah Boardman. Educate them. Educate your member of Congress. Tell them there's a long precedent of impeaching federal judges. This has happened 15 times. In our nation's history, 8 times that judge was convicted and removed from the bench. The grounds for impeachment absolutely apply to Deborah Boardman. If we don't stop this, then why would the left stop this? If they're successful in using these judges as the resistance to undermine justice in our country, why wouldn't they keep doing it? So we have a choice. We can recognize that these judges are acting as the resistance, as part of the plot to stop President Trump and undermine our country, or we can just complain about it. And I don't know about you, but I would rather get some of these judges impeached because they deserve it. We are not going to stop until we hold them to account legally using the recourse that's right in front of us. The members of Congress who have sworn an oath to represent what we want in our house, the United States Congress. They owe it to us. And if we raise our voices loud enough, we know they listen and we know they will comply. So do it. That's all we've got for this show. But your task, your challenge is go on X, go on Facebook, go on Instagram, pick up the phone, use your email, tell your member of Congress to bring articles of impeachment against Judge Deborah Boardman. She let this would-be assassin off easy because he's transgender. That is not justice. That's injustice.